What if Naruto was a Mega Prodigy? Part 4? Let's go. Naruto now enters the arena of the finals of the Chunin exams after having trained for a whole month. Naruto is set up to fight first against a random shinobi, which is much older than him, though Naruto easily wins. He doesn't even need to use any special jutsu. Just with his shadow clones, he won. Shisui has a similarly easy fight, not even needing to use his Sharingan to destroy his opponent. Now these fights kind of go on, though of course they do get slightly harder. In the semifinals they do actually need to try. Naruto actually uses some chakra, quite a bit, and Shisui actually uses his 2 Tomoe Sharingan, though both of them still pretty easily speaking win. And then in the finals, as you could have maybe guessed, it's actually Naruto versus Shisui. The 2 prodigies of prodigies fighting in a one-on-one fight. They immediately power up as much as possible. Shisui turning on his Mangekyo Sharingan, which he had been training for a little bit now, and Naruto giving each of his shadow clones a Rasengan, already throwing a fireball, then dashing through the fireball faster than the fire even hit Shisui, getting him by surprise. Then all his clones fight at the same time. So he tries to overwhelm Shisui's Sharingan so he can't predict his moves, but Shisui's eyes are too good, and he fights off one shadow clone after the other. This definitely uses a lot of chakra on both of them, though especially Naruto, who, although his chakra control is very good, you gotta remember he doesn't have a Ninetales here, so whilst he still has a lot of chakra because he's half Uzumaki, nowhere near as much as with the Ninetales. Though he does have a little bit more chakra than a normal half Uzumaki, sorry, because he's also half Namikaze, which I'm gonna say is pretty good. And because his mother was a Ninetales Jinchuriki for so long, her chakra kind of grew and kind of passed some of it on to the next generation. Of course not as much as a normal Jinchuriki would have. Just kind of faint droplets of it. The fight carried on for about 5 minutes, but the 2 fighters slowed down more and more. They got exhausted. Their chakra, as well as their physical endurance, doesn't last for that long, especially when fighting this hard. However, in the end, Naruto pulled through and won, as the drain of the Mangekyo Sharingan on Shisui's eyes was just too much to handle. So Naruto won. However, both of them, of course, were titled Chunin, as they were more than strong enough and proved that in that battle. A lot of the other genin participating hated the idea of such young kids, Naruto and Shisui, being there and then winning? Really? 6-year-olds, come on. But through all the hatred, Naruto persevered, accepted his new rank as Chunin along with Shisui, and celebrated the evening/afternoon. They celebrated with Naruto's family, they celebrated with Shisui's father. However, now it was back to missions. Naruto did some missions, Shisui did some missions. Of course they still did missions together, but they also did some separately, even going as far as doing some missions with an Anbu team. Especially Naruto, who had been practicing more and more, being sneaky, hidden, and quick. Although Shisui was getting it down too with Sharingan, he could predict his opponent's moves, and his black hair would blend in perfectly in the background. And his speed was not to be messed with either. Not on Naruto's level of course, but it was pretty fast. Jiraiya still taught them, though after about half a year, there was nothing really Jiraiya could teach them anymore. Though there was one thing that he did want to teach Naruto, which was of course the Toad Chakra. Naruto went to Mount Myoboku, trained 1 week, even 2 weeks, to really get it down, to perfect the Sage Art. And after that training, he had no problem summoning any Toad he wanted to, even the biggest ones. and his Sage Chakra was on point. Even better control than Minato had, as it wasn't Minato's focus, but Naruto, by using his Shadow Clones, could definitely make good use out of the Sage Chakra, which is why he tried to perfect it as much as possible, and did actually succeed to a pretty good level. Now, Naruto and Shisui got more of a reputation, even amongst other villages. Not just as the Yellow Flash's kid, or Minato's son, but his own reputation. Not grouped together as his father's son, though of course that was still taken into account, but just Naruto's sheer power at such a young age is what gave him recognition. He even became a tale of sorts, a legend, even though he was still alive and young. For some, he became even a myth, as not a lot of people had even seen him. It was somewhat of a rumor. However, Naruto also became a symbol for the younger people, such as Itachi's age, to fight on and become stronger than the older generations could ever become, and for them to stop the war when they get older. But for some people, they thought that that was just a dream that could never be fulfilled, though they'd be dead wrong. Over the next 2 years, Naruto and Shisui also became Jonin. Not just over the next 2 years, but actually still at the age of 6, making those two the youngest Jonin to ever live. As I believe the youngest Jonin before that was 7 or 8 years old, I'm not sure. I think it was 7 years old when Minato became Jonin, so yeah. His son, that makes him stronger than his father. A true prodigy of prodigies. A Mega Prodigy. And some even feared him on the battlefield. Though actually I'm gonna decide not to make a 2-year time skip, as that's a little much. So instead I'm gonna do 1.5 years, where now the stakes have risen even further, mostly between the Hidden Leaf and the Hidden Cloud, as they were the dominant and leading forces in the Third Shinobi War. However, the Rock was also quite involved. Minato had been destroying the Rock, and Minato had an important mission. Here, he basically fought the entire armed forces of the Hidden Rock by himself. One man against 1,000 shinobi. A legendary battle, though Minato would come out victorious. Though the odds were 1,000 to 1, Minato destroyed his opponents. However, usually at this point, his Genin team, who were no longer all Genin as Kakashi was already Jonin and stuff, well, at this point they would usually suffer a great loss, with Obito dying, and soon later, Rin getting captured. Though at this point, Naruto was actually along with the Genin team. So when Rin was being captured by the shinobi, and Obito, Kakashi, and Naruto started following her to bring her back, instead of Obito sacrificing himself when the rocks fall and the cave was destroyed, well, he did sacrifice himself, but Naruto did the same thing, pushed Obito to the front as he was the last one in the team to leave the cave. And it looked like Naruto had died from the big rock falling on him. Obito just came out safely, by the way. But actually, about 5 seconds later, a hand arose from the rubble. Naruto jumped up and seemed unscathed. He had dug himself into the ground with earth manipulation, so he didn't get any wounds from the rocks. With that, Rin is captured, well, not captured, brought back. Obito is saved. Then Minato came back a few hours later. Kakashi reported what happened in the mission, as he was the oldest Jonin there, though Naruto was of course likely actually stronger than Kakashi, But Minato wanted someone older and a little more experienced. Someone serious, like Kakashi, to be the leader. Minato got all the reports and was happy but also sad. If Naruto wasn't there, one of his teammates, well, he would have died. Minato does blame himself, though he can't really blame himself. Winning that fight against the Rock Shinobi gave the Leaf a much better chance of winning the war, and set their opponents back by quite a bit. Now, this was at a similar time, actually a little bit before, because afterwards, I'm gonna say only about 2 weeks later, the third Raikage, A, sacrificed his life in a fight against 10,000 shinobi, topping even Minato's fight, though A did not make it alive. He did not make it out alive, I should say. Whilst he did hold off 10,000 shinobis and destroyed a whole bunch of them, he did not live to tell the tale. He died, and therefore a new Raikage was put into office, which helped to end the war, as finally a peace treaty could be made between the Leaf and the Hidden Cloud, who had just got a new leader. Right after the Leaf and Hidden Cloud made a peace contract, the whole war just seemed to end, just like that, as none of the other villagers seemed to want to fight, as if the Leaf and Hidden Cloud were allied, any village in their way would be annihilated, and that single force of 2 villages scared everyone into an agreement stopping the war. And whilst not having an alliance per se, it did give somewhat of a peace treaty between all of the villages. It was unspoken, not written, but all of them knew not to mess around with each other, as they would basically make enemies of everyone, quite literally everyone, all of the villages. So no one dared to break the peace. And with that, the Third Shinobi World War finally ended. After over 4 years of brutal fighting, the war finally took an end. Now Madara's plans were not going along very well. He needed someone that he could manipulate, though preferably in Uchiha. He was looking at Shisui, who was powerful, and if Madara would be able to manage to control Shisui, that could be the thing to lead him to victory and his plans to success. Though Shisui seemed very close to Naruto and the Leaf, and keeping the peace as it is. However, Madara would still try to get him on his side, though for now, he would have to wait, see, and plan. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this shorter episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.